All right, let's cut across to my colleague Cyrus now, who is the editor for Emerging Tech here at India Today. Hi, Cyrus. I have a very technical question for you, apart from all the political bickering that has been going around. Now, when the government says that technically you can uninstall the app, now, what does that mean? Because if whatever we understand about data in tech, it is that your data is never gone. It's always there, it can always be retrieved, it can always be accessed in some form or the other. So does removing an app mean that all access has gone? Because if I go back to what Pegasus was doing, it was actually activating the phone on its own, recording on its own. It was like a full-time control on the phone. Is it technically possible to do it on apps like these?
Well, Sonal, first you need to consider what kind of application we are talking about. For example, let's first answer the first question about data being on the smartphone. For example, you install WhatsApp on your phone and you uninstall it after a couple of months. The data that you downloaded via WhatsApp could be images, could be audio notes, could be documents. All of that data remains on your smartphone. It doesn't go anywhere. But WhatsApp has been uninstalled, right? Similarly, for example, there are certain applications that store certain credentials into keychain encrypted passwords. For example, if you install an application, but you decide you didn't like it and you will uninstall it after a few days. After months, you realize, okay, I want that application back on my phone. You install it again, and then you will see the sign-up procedure is quite simpler than before because some of the credentials that application needed are already stored, however, in an encrypted manner. So to say that the application is snooping, there is only one way. Third-party sources, third-party companies or organizations will have to do a thorough review of the Sanchar app in order for them to find out whether it is actually snooping on your data. Because in terms of permissions, yes, it has access to your SMSs, it has access to your call logs. There would be certain documents that will need to be uploaded via this Sanchar app. And for that, you will need to give it access to the camera. So via the camera, you will get access to the storage. So certain amount of data access will be, yes, available to Sanchar app. However, on what level, the kind of snooping it will enable, it's something that
totally depends on who's operating the app.
Also, yes, because we need to understand what kind of encryption is available on the data that is being put through the application. So, like I said, a third-party entity needs to intervene here and needs to really look at whether there is actually a backdoor within the app and whether it is really secured so that users can put their personal data over there.
The second question here is on how much can it really be applied? We understand Apple has already said no, and that was expected, right? Apple has said no to several other countries where I think in North Korea, one such app was introduced, or one such thing was introduced, and they said no. So we were expecting Apple to sort of say no here as well. Can other companies as well, like Xiaomi, Samsung, what are you hearing from them on what is their reaction to this app?
Right now, they haven't come out and said anything explicitly against like installation of certain applications. However, OEMs, mobile companies do install certain apps before they launch smartphones, but there is a commercial aspect involved over there because they do get certain revenue from certain pre-installed application. However, if the government approaches an OEM to install an application and do it, I mean, it's a directive that Android, at least smartphones, can follow. It's not going to be easy for iOS devices, specifically Apple devices, because they do not entertain any sort of third-party apps within their ecosystem. All of their applications are installed from the software, the OS version side. So for Android, it's relatively easier, but considering the fact that Apple has come up and said, okay, we are putting our foot down, we're not going to do it. There's going to be a lot of pressure among the other OEMs also to join this ecosystem and say, okay, we might not comply. However, if there is a directive, if the government is playing hardball, then it will be interesting to see. For Apple, it's very difficult to do it. I don't think they're going to comply that easily.
All right. So that gives me one reason in our Apple versus Samsung debate that we will sort of have another day. But that's a story for another time. Thanks so much, Cyrus, for joining us with the very latest.
Thank you so much.